Morning, 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 everyone. How's it going? Who's ready for a sprint race? Who's ready for a busy day of F1? I definitely am. Let's get my TV coverage up and running. Morning, Leo. Good to see you. Morning, Mark, Anthony, Shadow, Jude. I see you guys. Truji. See you guys chatting. It's good to see you guys chatting. Good community we've got going on here. Hey, Livy. Is that not flipping round? Yeah. Drivers currently making their way round to the starting grid. Don't have data to show you just yet. Unfortunately, I don't even have sound on my TV coverage for some bizarre reason. For that, there we go. Hey Ned, Elizabeth, good to see you. How's everyone's day treating them so far? What time is it for most people? Majority of you European based, or you is it very early in the morning for you? Is it evening time and you've cracked yourself open a nice little drinky poo for to sit down and watch the sprint race? European 12:30 India. Hey Gary, 10:35. Ah, Shadow, you're obviously UK based then. Isle of Wight, yeah. Do you know what? It always blows my mind that South Africa, Jimmy, is only an hour ahead. Blows my mind, that does. Don't know why. I feel like you should be... Obviously, it goes down, doesn't it? Time zones. Why's my chat box not working? Should be showing up. Odyssey, Mark? Nice, nice. Yeah, I mean, it's a lovely day out in the UK today, in London. But yeah, my eyes. If you're thinking, oh, I've got my eyes look a little bit baggy. I've woken up with terrible hay fever. I have taken a lot of prescriptive medication to try and get over it. So yeah, I'm feeling good at the moment. Hoping this takes my mind off it, and you know, and mind over matter, you know. India is the strangest of us plus 30 minutes. Really? Huh. 5:30 minute. Nice, nice. Mclaren. No, I use just like hay fever tablets and like nasal spray stuff. But yeah, unfortunately, I'm quite a bad sufferer of it. It really does knock me for six. But just waiting for the data to go live, guys, before we can change scene. But welcome, welcome. I'm quite intrigued for this sprint race. How's everyone feeling about this sprint race this morning? Well, this morning in the UK, but wherever you are. I think it's going to be an intriguing one because we've got Lando and Max up front, and we've got Oscar Piastri, and of course that long run up to turn 3. So if Lando getting ahead of Max into turn 1, it's probably actually the worst thing for him. Probably wants to be in the slipstream of Max, heading down into turn 3. That's what he wants. Oscar Piastri could provide him as well an opportunity. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. That's why I put Piastri, because he's looking for a race of redemption or a weekend of redemption after a poor showing at Barcelona last week. So, yeah, and the McLarens look strong. You can use Mclaren even for external application. What, whiskey? McLaren's whiskey, isn't it? Interesting. Hey Jasper, am I going to watch any Glastonbury this weekend off F1? No, not really. Festivals aren't my sort of thing. Music festivals and that. I'll watch the highlights, but yeah, I don't really sit there and watch it all. So I do love my music. Yes. Oh, you're joking. Well, alcohol. Well, beer. Anything to do with like wheat-based alcohol is supposed to be worse for your hay fever. They say don't drink alcohol when you're when you've got hay fever and you're suffering, because it promotes it more. It can increase the level that you're getting. So Can't wait, can't wait. Hey, Typho. Yeah, welcome, guys. Jamie XX last night. He was good. Oh, cool. Yeah, I know Dua Lipa was headlining it, wasn't it? She's all right. I mean, some of her music's okay. Some of it isn't for me. Yeah. Actually, funny enough, bit off topic, guys. We're talking about music now, just while we're waiting for the data to go live. Me and the missus were talking about going to see a Hans Zimmer show. You know, he does like the live performances with his. But obviously, if you don't know who Hans Zimmer is, he's a famous composer for all like some of the biggest movies in the world. And yeah, want to go talking about that last night. About maybe booking tickets to go see him. Going to work, unfortunately. Can you let me know what time is the qualifying in the UK? Yes, no worries, Manuel. So qualifying is 3 p.m. UK time. 3 o'clock in the afternoon is when qualifying is starting. I'll be live not quite half an hour beforehand. I'll be live probably 15 minutes before. Give myself plenty of time to go chill after this. Have some lunch and that. Maybe fit a sim race in between. But yeah, qualifying starts at 3 p.m. this afternoon. The stream is set up for that, guys, so you can open that up in a separate tab or turn your notifications on to be alerted half an hour before I go live. And then today, well, this session, we have just over 20 minutes until this sprint race gets underway. Of course, Max Verstappen line up on pole, just pipping Lando Norris again by 900ths of a second. Qualifying so close at the moment. It's really exciting qualifying. So hopefully we're in for a close race as well. Big chance of a turn 1 incident, Piastri could sneak into the lead. Yeah, so I think I don't think there'll be a turn 1 incident up front, Ghost, as we were just saying. The strat isn't to, unless you get a severe lead into turn 1, the strat probably isn't to get into turn 1 first. Like, Lando, him getting into turn 1 second isn't worst case scenario. Because it's a very long run up to turn 3 up the hill, and look, Max Verstappen's Red Bull isn't supreme on power now like it used to be. So Lando in that slipstream will have an opportunity round the outside. I imagine Max will probably defend on the inside, so whether or not he can make it stick. But yeah, it's going to be an intriguing one. I reckon there'd be more incidents at turn 3 as we've seen in the past, rather than there would be in turn 1. Because everyone knows the main overtaking opportunity is at the top of the hill. So, and the nature of that corner as well. We've seen drivers make mistakes there. Remember Charles Leclerc made a mistake there and ran into the back of his... was it Vettel at the time? It was Vettel, wasn't it? It wasn't Charles Leclerc. Sorry, it wasn't on signs. I don't think it was. I think it was Vettel. So yeah, it'll be an interesting sprint race, I think. And I don't think Max is going to get away from Lando. I think it's definitely a race between those two this weekend. And what would be great is if Oscar's already done what he needs to do kind of this weekend, but he hasn't done of course this will be different because there's no pit stops in sprint races, but he's up there in P3. What Lando missed last weekend is not having that rear gunner to force Red Bull into something different, to deploy Piastri to try and trouble Max Verstappen. And this weekend, it's important for Piastri. Of course, he'll be looking for his own race and to win himself. Of course, he will be. But it's important for Lando, who does have the edge over his teammate at the moment, if it is the front two, that Piastri is there. Because Perez, once again, down in 7th position in this sprint race. Yeah, that's not close enough. That's not close enough to help Max over the race on Sunday. So sprint race starts on the hour, guys. On the hour is when the sprint race starts. So I'm still waiting for the data to go live before we can change scene. So yeah, bear with me. Normally it's about 15 minutes prior to that it goes. How was the iRacing yesterday? You had a power cut. So we did a 100% Grand Prix race distance race on iRacing. They have a special event calendar for F1 every week, but there is an F1 race in real life. So 24 race weekends or weeks. There is a 100% race that you can participate in on iRacing. Very difficult. Obviously, a lot of strategies involved, and you're driving the W13 because that's the latest car we have. And yeah, I won it. I won my race. So Yeah, really enjoyable. We beat the guy by one. It was a 2-horse race. I did a 2-stop. He did a 1-stop. And yeah, we won by 1 second, just over a second. So yeah, really cool. You can watch that back. It was really interesting. Some good racing there between me and Lyle. So yeah, we'll be doing those definitely more in the future. I'm drumming up the sim racing streams now. So wanted to do more of that live content. So Ferrari's trying to cook something. Yeah, so if you missed yesterday, guys, Charles Leclerc missed an opportunity to even set a lap time in the sprint shootout 3, so the last qualifying session. They all left it very late, the drivers. It is only a 1-lap shootout in Q3. I don't know why they've made it 8 minutes, to be honest. I think it should be 5 minutes, but hey-ho. And what happened is that Charles Leclerc was the last one out anyway, so Ferrari were definitely risking it. And he also had anti-stall in the pit lane. So while he was coming out of the pit lane, he had anti-stall, which really was the deciding factor. He was stationary for a few seconds. The whole car switched off, had to switch it back on. And then, of course, he missed out by 3 seconds of setting a lap time yesterday. So Charles Leclerc, not really looking forward to today, of course. Who knows what he would have been able to have done over a single lap. But let's see. Right, this seems like the data is, I think, ready to rock and roll, guys. Ready to rock and roll. Bosh. Here we go. What we like. Nice and early. Getting prepped. Let's just do this. Set to leaderboard. And then we want the radio transmissions as well. Right. Spoiler alert, heart. Spoiler alert, yeah. I'm sorry. There we go, I think. There we go. Ready to rock and roll. Do you know what really annoys me with chat on OBS, right, is that, well, this one anyway, I can't set the colour of your names, so I have to, like, reload it every time. Really annoying. I want it nice and bright so that you guys know, obviously, who's chatting. Yes, here we go, guys. Right, so if you forgot the starting grid for this sprint race tomorrow, let's have a little rundown. Max Verstappen on pole position. He out-qualified Lando Norris by less than 1/10 of a second. I think it was 900ths of a second between the front two, so very, very close. Piastri in P3. He was a couple of attempts back from his teammate and Max Verstappen, but important for him that he's got off to a good start this weekend. George Russell in P4. Carlos Sainz in P5. Lewis Hamilton. Now, we checked the sector times yesterday and we knew something was a bit off. Lewis Hamilton was half a second back from Max Verstappen. The reason for that is, I don't know if anyone saw his lap, he lost a lot of time in turn 3, the corner at the top of the hill, where most of the overtaking is done, and he got up over the curb quite a lot, lost a lot of speed and time, and that's where he lost basically all of his time in that run. So that's why Lewis is down in 6th place. Sergio Perez, of course, was sandwiched in between the two Alpines. They were the 3 of the last drivers to get out and cross the start-finish line, only just to set their laps. They basically were tripping over one another. Been a bit of hoo-ha in the post-race, isn't there? Or the post-qualifying, is that Ocon was backing up Gasly and Perez, almost trying to make them not get a lap in. Very, very naughty from Esteban Ocon, but I guess if it's within the rules, you can do it. And he nearly got away with it. Obviously, he's got no allegiance really to Alpine anymore. He's on his way out. Most likely, not yet announced. I imagine probably in the summer break we'll get an announcement that Ocon is moving to Haas, but that's pretty much a done deal. The word on the paddock is. Max Magnussen in P11, Lance Stroll and Alonso in 12th and 13th. The Aston Martin just seems to be going backwards, doesn't it, guys? Not good for them. Tsunoda in 14th. Sargent, for the first time in his F1 career, has out-qualified Alex Albon in a qualifying session. Wow. Only taken him 31 or 32 races. And, well, supposedly Albon is feeling quite under the weather. He doesn't look well, and he's starting from 20th position. That's kind of... He needed an ill Alex Albon to be able to out-qualify him. Doesn't bode well, does it? Daniel Ricciardo in 16th. Not good weekend for the RBs. Again, seem to be struggling. Their upgrades are just sent them backwards, haven't they? Hulkenberg 17th. Bottas and Zhou, very slow. Two of the slowest cars this weekend, the Stake F1 cars. And yeah, Alex Albon in 20th, who looks like he's made further changes to his car and is starting in the pit lane like he did at Barcelona last week. So yeah, that's our grid for the sprint race. 24 laps here. Most likely the medium compound tyre. I don't really expect anyone to use the softs. I think the softs, obviously they'll need them for qualifying this afternoon. And the soft tyre is looking like it's going to be a race tyre, I think, on Sunday. I think. I could be wrong there, but I'm pretty sure I heard them say that yesterday. So. Cabin needs to bandside down the inside of turn 1. Go K-Mag. We can always rely on K-Mag, can't we? Surely put Liam Lawson in till the year end so they can decide between LL and Dan is the best idea. I think that's probably what they're going to do, yes. I think so. I think Dan... I don't think they'll get rid of Daniel Ricciardo entirely. I think they'll still keep him as a reserve driver. They might take the approach of Daniel Ricciardo just sitting there waiting in the wings for Sergio Perez. I still just think that... I just still think somehow Daniel Ricciardo is going to find himself in that Red Bull seat ahead of Perez at some point. Not saying that he deserves it, but... And I think Yuki will end up leaving RB and leaving the Red Bull system next year. After 2025. Liam Lawson, it's good to see him back on the grid. But I mean, if Red Bull truly wants to go back, I know Helmut Marko made some comments about it, about the RB team going back to being a junior team, and him wanting to implement that. I do think Christian Horner's probably had made the decision to re-sign Perez and to sign Daniel Ricciardo. I think that was quite evident with what we saw on Drive to Survive. So he's kind of overridden, because Helmut Marko's main role in Red Bull is the driver development side of things, is running the junior academy. So it makes sense, obviously, that he wants to see junior drivers come through and use that second team as a breeding ground for drivers. And really, it should be Yuki Tsunoda in that second Red Bull seat right now. It shouldn't be Sergio Perez. Yuki's going to now have been at RB for his 5th year next year. I think that's right. This is definitely I think this is his 4th year, so it'll be 5 years. It'll be at RB. That's the longest of any driver at Red Bull to be in the junior team. Now, of course, he's still young, but he has developed over that time. He has proven with performances this year that I think he deserves an opportunity alongside Max. He deserves an opportunity in that top team. That was the whole purpose of the junior Red Bull team. And instead, they've decided to keep Perez on for, we know why, business reasons, and probably to keep Max happy rather than bring in another hotshot who potentially could spoil the apple cart and maybe ruffle Verstappen's feathers in the wrong way. You'd think Verstappen would 100% still have anyone who comes into that seat covered, but they don't want to risk it. No point risking it, especially when there's rumours of Max maybe looking elsewhere, you know? Turn this fan off, hang on. So that's what they're doing with Lawson, is going back to their roots of having an actual, using that as a junior team, which is right. Ooh, that fan was tingling my nose, and I don't want to start sneezing, guys, on stream. I mean, that's 71, I think it is. 70 or 71, Daniel. Yeah, it's tomorrow. So, hey, Jude. Do I think Tsunoda would be able to cut it better than Gasly or Albon in the main team? It's difficult to say. It is difficult to say because, of course, they get directly compared to Verstappen. I think you have to look... I mean, you look at Perez's performances, right? Gasly and Albon did better than Perez. Oh, actually, have they... I mean, Perez... Actually, no. Perez... Sorry, I take that back because Perez has got wins. Perez has got second places. But I would say, I think if you look at the worst they've done... So the best... This is the thing. So the best... Perez's best performances in a Red Bull car are much better than Albon and Gasly's best performances in a Red Bull car. Bearing in mind, Gasly only got half a season. However, their worst performances, Gasly and Albon's worst performances in a Red Bull car, were not as bad, nowhere near as bad as Perez's performances, worst performances in the car. I don't remember Gasly ever not making it through to Q3. Do you? I don't think Albon ever didn't make... I don't think Albon ever went out in Q1. Did he? Like, I think Albon was always like Gasly... I always remember Gasly finishing about like 7th, 8th or 9th. I think his highest position was like a P4 or something. Like, Gasly was very harshly treated, in my opinion. But supposedly there was a lot... Gasly was quite hot-headed. He was quite rude to people behind the scenes as well. So that contributed probably to Gasly leaving Red Bull and being replaced by Albon. So I guess if you're looking at best performance-wise, Perez has done better. But if you're looking at worst performance, Perez has done a lot worse. A lot more than Albon and Gasly. Yeah, so chances teams are throwing the constructors to get more wind tunnel time, maybe, but there's also a lot. It's a fine balance, Ghost. It's a fine balance because there's a lot of money on offer for these teams. It's million. You're talking millions of pounds, which is really. I mean, the top teams could probably give that up. I think the top teams are probably in a position to be able to go, okay, yeah, we'll finish third in the championship rather than second because it gives us the extra wind tunnel time. But I don't think the teams like Haas, Williams, Stake F1, maybe like Alpine, they want to finish up as high as possible because that money is important to them. Whereas the wind tunnel time is probably more important to the likes of Red Bull, McLaren, and Mercedes and Ferrari because they've got the they've already got the money to do that, and it's probably beneficial in the long term for them to have that extra wind tunnel time. But it's also how you use it. Red Bull had that penalty, didn't they? They had the cost cap penalty, and it had no effect on them because of how dominant they were and because of how effective and efficient they were with the time that they had in development. So, yeah, extra wind tunnel time doesn't necessarily correlate to having a better car. So, especially, it's all about the personnel you've got. So, am I a fan of Lando, Jude? Yeah, I'm a fan of Lando. Yeah. They both got worse, though, as they got frustrated by the gap. Yes, but then there's also an element of, I think, they're still junior drivers, and I think there's an element of having, like, coaching. I don't think Red Bull, the likes of Marco and the likes of Horner, I don't think they coached Albon and Gasly very well at all. I don't think they did, and I think they should have done more to help with... They're still developing. They both got shoved into the Red Bull car quite early in their careers, especially Albon. Like, give him that development. Give him... Okay, yeah, he struggled in that year where he got removed from the seat. But give him a bit more time. Give him, like, he's shown that he can have the performances. If it wasn't for Lewis Hamilton twice, he would have had podiums and would have kicked on from that. Rather than having to wait so long for that first podium at Maranello. But yeah, give them development, like give them the coaching side. But that's Red Bull. They don't really do that. So, how long Fernando can stay in F1? I think he's supposedly signed a multi-year deal. I think Fernando will be into his 45. I think we've still got another 3 more years of Fernando Alonso. I think we have. I don't see him. I think he's done the endurance racing thing. I don't think he'll leave F1. He loves F1. He's still fit enough. He's still quick enough. He's got a good car underneath him. That Aston Martin is just dog at the moment, isn't it? So if he's got a good car underneath him, he'll put it on podiums. He'll put it up there. That's for sure. But even at the age he is, but at the moment, that Aston Martin's in no good. Is not in good shape. So I'd be interested to see how he's dealing with things behind the scenes, because we've seen him get very sort of hunky-dory for the first couple of seasons, isn't it, with Fernando Alonso at a team, and then we've seen history, but it goes downhill. However, this is probably a bit different because he knows this is his last seat in F1. I don't think any other team is ever going to take Fernando Alonso now with the age he's at. So it's all or nothing with Aston Martin. Who'll drive the 44 car for next season when Lewis transfers to Ferrari? Lewis will, because you take your number with you. You don't. The only number that you don't get to take with you is number 1. Number 1 is offered to the driver who wins the world championship. They don't have to take that. Lewis Hamilton never took the number 1 car. He is the only driver who can take the number 1 car. He's the world champion, and Max has decided to take that. So. Ooh, tyre blankets, guys, are off. Everyone on the medium compound tyre. And interestingly, we have drivers on different usage here. So the likes of Verstappen and Norris have only 1 lap between them in regards to laps run. I don't think a single lap here is going to make a difference. Piastri, a couple of laps might though, with Oscar Piastri on 3-lap-old tyres, as well as Russell, Sainz, Hamilton on 4, Perez and Ocon on 6-lap-old tyres. Interesting. So a real mixture here. It's only Bottas and Zhou who are starting on brand new mediums. So yeah, it's basically a medium to the end here. The soft just doesn't last. So possibly Fernando joining Red Bull before he retires? No, that will never happen. No, they would promote either Lawson or Tsunoda before they hire again from outside. The only reason Perez has stayed is because he brings in money. Perez is, I think people don't realise how well supported Perez is around the world. Perez will not be leaving F1 for a long time. He'll be going to his 40 if he wants to, or as long as like Fernando Alonso, because he brings so much money with him. He's got like massive sponsors. The merchandise sales are ridiculous across the world. He's one of the most. He's probably. I think he's definitely one of the top 3 well-supported drivers, most supported drivers in F1. That is crazy. So, where is the money from? So. Merchandise sales, apparently he's like 70%, 75% of Red Bull's merchandise sales is Perez. He has massive sponsors, so he has family ties to who's his biggest sponsor? I can't remember the guy's name. It's like an oil company, isn't it, in Mexico? I'll know the name as soon as you say it. Like he has like billionaire ties basically, the sponsors. Like if you look at the list of sponsors that Sergio Perez brings with him, it's crazy. Absolutely crazy. Carlos Slim, that's it. Yeah, Carlos Slim. What is the name of the oil company? Telcel, that's it. That's an oil company, isn't it? Is it oil or is it telco? Is it an oil company or is it a communications company? I can't remember. It's one or the other. Like it's massive, absolutely massive. Like in South America and that. But he's also very, very well supported in Asia, believe it or not. Very well supported. The merch for Perez, you see it everywhere in Asia. So what happens if Max changes his power unit? Max changes his power unit, he'll have a 10-place grid penalty for the next race. So yeah, Max is on his last power unit, guys. Right, here we go. Race is about to start. They are on the formation lap, guys. Let's go for the Red Bull Ring, or the Austrian. I've just opened up iRacing for some reason. I've clicked the wrong thing. Apologies if this opens. No, go away, iRacing. I was wanting to change the song. Right, yes, only moments away from the Austrian GP sprint race, ladies and gentlemen. Please hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't already. Let's get this stream, let's get 20 more likes, let's get this stream to 100 likes before the race starts. I'm going to end the poll. 61% of you overwhelmingly think Max Verstappen is going to win this race. I don't need to drive myself, Adrian. Yeah, I won last night. I did my race last night. 60% of you say Max Verstappen is going to win this race. 30% think Norris. 8% think Piastri. But we are in for an intriguing one here. Everyone on the medium compound tyres. I think it's going to be good between Max and Norris up front. This is, of course, a preview of what to expect on Sunday, potentially, of another qualifying session later to come this afternoon. Drivers, remember, can change their setup after this sprint race. They no longer are fixed in for the whole weekend. So we may see some improvements from certain drivers in qualifying this afternoon after learning what they do from what they did from qualifying yesterday and what they will learn from this sprint race. But it's Perez, not Perez. Hello, Lucinda. But here we go, guys. Here we go. Lining up on the grid. Let's run through this grid one last time. Max Verstappen is on pole position. Lando Norris P2. Oscar Piastri P3. George Russell P4. Carlos Sainz 5th. Hamilton 6th. Perez 7th. Ocon 8th, Gasly in 9th, Leclerc not setting a time yesterday in 10th position, Magnussen in 11th, Stroll in 12th, Alonso 13th, Tsunoda is in 14th, Logan Sargent 15th, Daniel Ricciardo 16th, Nico Hulkenberg in 17th, Bottas in 18th, Zhou Guanyu in 19th, and starting from the pit lane is Alex Albon. So here we are, moments away as they are lined up on the grid. We are just waiting for the stragglers here at the end to get into their starting positions, and we'll be underway for this 24-lap sprint race. Everyone on the medium compound tyre, varying usages of that compound as well throughout the grid. Only Bottas and Zhou in 18th and 19th on brand new mediums. But here we go. Zhou Guanyu lining up on the grid as Albon is starting from the pit lane. Here we go. It is lights on and... And it's a start aborted. Start has been aborted. Extra formation lap. Extra formation lap. I did think that was a very, very long start there. Not entirely sure why that was, but there's a start has been aborted. Let's see exactly what the reason for that is. Normally that's because there's a car that has struggled maybe there with an issue. Let's see if everyone's able to get out of the grid, or maybe there was an actual issue with the lights, the starting procedure in itself with a technical issue, as everyone does seem to be getting away okay. What is the reason for that? Let's see. Apparently it's a lights issue. There was a lights issue, a technical issue with the lights, and that's why the extra formation lap has been required. I said lights on, and the lights weren't on. So this will be a 23-lap sprint race now, guys. 23 laps. So very interesting there. Very interesting. Hey, Graham. Who's my favourite racer? My favourite racer is Lewis Hamilton, as you can probably tell from the poster. But I do support the Brits. I do like McLaren. I do like Williams as well. I have soft spots for other drivers. But yeah, Lewis Hamilton's the driver that I've probably supported most throughout my life. My favourite ever driver, I always get asked this question, my favourite ever driver in F1 though is Mika Häkkinen. Mika Häkkinen was amazing watching him grow up. Fighting those 2 World Championships he fought and won against Michael Schumacher. Unbelievable. So, especially in that livery as well. Right, let's see. We go again, round 2, and it's still an extra formation lap, is it? Are they continuing? Or is the... No, sorry, I forgot. The grid, the pole position grid is ahead of the start-finish line. So here we go, guys. Let's do this again. Let's try this again, shall we? Let's try this again. Will Piastri be able to challenge for wins in the same fashion as Lando this season? I think there'll be a few races, yeah, but he still needs to improve on his tyre management at the moment. But it is only his second season in F1. And these tyres, it does take And these cars, it does take a little bit longer to get up to get to grips with and get up to speed with than previous iterations of F1 cars. Right, here we go again. Let's go. Bottas and Zhou lining up at the back of the grid here. Round 2, attempt number 2, 23 laps this time, not 24, of this Austrian GP sprint race. It will be lights on and... away we go. We have green light this time around as they head up into the short run into turn 1. We know that it's all about that long run up the hill to turn 3 as Max Verstappen has held on to pole position there and has got a nice exit as they head up to turn 3. Lando Norris doesn't seem to be quite close enough as Oscar Piastri is pressuring his own teammate as they head up to turn 3, and I think Oscar's going side by side with Norris down into turn 3. Hasn't been able to gain the position on his teammate there as the top 7 are as they were, as Charles Leclerc has made a great start and gained 2 positions. Gasly is the biggest loser as he's lost 3 down into 12th place as Sainz is pressuring Russell as they head down into turn 4, and Oscar Piastri slots in behind his teammate Norris, but that's an amazing start by Max Verstappen, who has got a good launch. Sainz has got ahead of Russell into turn 4 as Logan Sargent down into 16th. Leclerc up 3 positions. A great start from Charles Leclerc, of course, who was unable to set that qualifying lap yesterday. Alonso down a position as well. Bit of chopping changing in the midfield with Gasly down 3 positions. Ocon down 2 positions. Magnussen's up 2 places as well as DRS is now going to be enabled. Just watching the start of this race, and yeah, it was pretty simple for Max Verstappen. In a second start in a row that Lando Norris has made a poor start, and he really had to go defensive against his teammate as Oscar Piastri got a really, really good start, but of course teammates not fighting too hard. So let's go. DRS open as they head up to turn 3 for the second time in this sprint race, and you can see there that Lando Norris has really pulled away from Oscar Piastri, and with that DRS, half a second almost quicker than Verstappen up into the first sector there. That is how powerful the DRS is. So Lando Norris, while he got a poor start, I think we are shaping up for a 22-lap definite showdown between Max Verstappen and Lando Norris. Let's see how this unfolds. But at the moment, it is Verstappen from Norris, from Piastri. Carlos Sainz in 4th position as Ocon has lost another position. The 2 Alpines have lost 3 positions apiece and are down in 11th and 12th as Stroll heads up into P10 there, making an overtake down into turn 4. But the 2 McLarens starting to pull away from Carlos Sainz in 4th place. Lando Norris from Max Verstappen. Fastest middle sector from Oscar Piastri. Sainz holding off George Russell. Lewis Hamilton where he started in 6th place. Charles Leclerc up 3 positions into 7th, but he's got Perez on his tails as it's the fastest lap from Lando Norris, the first sub 1 minute 9 lap that we've got this sprint race. So as we do head up into turn 3 again, this is where the one of the 2 main overtaking opportunities is at this circuit, as it does seem to be that Norris is getting a much better exit out of turn 1 than Oscar Piastri, and he's 2 tenths behind Max Verstappen now. He'll have DRS down into turn 4. It's all about the traction out of turn 3. Of course, uphill right-hander, need to be careful of the tyre slip, and I think Lando's going to have an opportunity at least of going side by side on Max Verstappen down into turn 4. Does he have a look? Does he make a move round the outside? No, he holds position. Not close enough just yet. Of course, Lando Norris knows he's got his teammate close behind him as well. He needs to make a decisive move to get around Max Verstappen. And of course, we know Max Verstappen likes to get his elbows out when he is defending, as Hamilton sets the fastest first sector out of anyone there, 1:19.6. But you can see there the difference. Max Verstappen up front, no DRS, punching the hole in the air for everyone behind him. Is half a second slower on that run in the first sector up to turn 3. That is the massive difference. That is the great thing about this circuit, guys, is that the DRS is powerful and it allows cars who are maybe just a little bit slower and would fall away a lot sooner at other circuits, like we did at Barcelona, and able to stay closer for longer throughout this race around this circuit. So here we go once again as Norris really closes up, but it's all about attraction out of turn 3 here. 3 tenths back. He was 3 tenths back last time around. Let's see if he has a run down into turn 4. He's got a bit of a gap between him and his teammate behind, so maybe it'll entice him to go for a move as Lando goes down into turn 4, and no, just not close enough at the moment as Oscar Piastri is nearly losing the DRS from his teammate, 1 second behind. Seems to get a good traction out of turn 4 there, but you can see Charles Leclerc falling back from Lewis Hamilton, and there is a bit of a train here between the top 6, only 3 seconds separating Max Verstappen down to Lewis Hamilton in P6. Charles Leclerc in P7. He's just lost the DRS to Lewis Hamilton, it seems. So that will make him and leave him vulnerable to Sergio Perez next time around. Oh, he's just got it back. Just got it back, Charles Leclerc, as they head into the last sector, which is very important for him. Kevin Magnussen in P9, Lance Stroll in P10, Ocon and Gasly in 11th and 12th. Yuki Tsunoda up a position in 13th. There's a big gap between Perez and Magnussen now, 2.5 seconds. So it is pretty much the top 8, all kind of in a train, as Hamilton's just fallen back a little bit from George Russell there and has lost the DRS actually out of the last sector. So Lewis Hamilton had a little bit of a wobble for the last sector, but has lost him DRS importantly. So if he doesn't get it back quickly, as Norris has got ahead of Verstappen into turn 3 there, but now with DRS down into turn 4, is Verstappen going to in the toe, going to have an opportunity of going back into P1 into turn 4. He regains the lead. Max Verstappen into turn 4 without the DRS. Wow. Norris briefly there gains the position, and hopefully we get more of that as Piastri's got ahead of Norris down into turn 6. He's gone round Lando into turn 6, and Lando, from going into P1, has lost 2 positions in the space of just 1 corner or 2 corners there, and now will be under attack from Carlos Sainz. Wow, what happened there? Max Verstappen potentially, obviously, they went side by side off Camber Corner, where we've seen incidents in the past at turn 4. Remember Alex Albon, remember Lewis Hamilton, remember Sergio Perez, and well, Lando Norris has lost, maybe put out position there by Max Verstappen, and has lost a position to Piastri. But what a move by Lando on Max Verstappen on the inside there. But as I'm watching the replay, he went defensive down into turn 4. We'll try and keep an eye on up top as well, because Piastri is now going to be on DRS of Max Verstappen. And Verstappen shoved Lando kind of out of the way. He dived on the inside, and that shoved Lando out of position. And Piastri made a great move round the outside of his teammate into turn 6. What a sprint race this is at the moment. It pains me to say that, guys. It pains me to say that. But at the moment, Max Verstappen is maintaining that lead from Oscar Piastri in P2, Lando in P3. So now, can the other McLaren of Oscar Piastri have a go at Max Verstappen? We will see. But what a great little fight that was between the 2 best friends of the circuit, Max Verstappen and Lando Norris. 18 laps remaining in this 23-lap race, guys. It is Verstappen leading from Oscar Piastri in P2, Lando Norris in P3, Carlos Sainz in 4th, Russell 5th, Hamilton now back in the DRS of his teammate in P6, Charles Leclerc in the DRS as well in turn 7, and then Perez has lost a lot of ground there. I'm not entirely sure why. Has lost a lot of ground. He's 2.5 seconds back from Charles Leclerc, and then we have that train all the way back from P9 of Kevin Magnussen. But here we go, up into turn 3 once again. Oscar Piastri, half a second back from Max Verstappen. He needs to be a lot closer than that out of the exit of turn 3 to really have a go at Max down into turn 4. He will gain. Let's see how much time he gains in that slipstream. And he doesn't gain enough. But just watching the replay here of this move of Lando Norris, it was a late move, a dive on the brakes, and well, Max kind of got caught out by it. Oscar nearly tagged the rear of Max Verstappen, but because of the late dive and how deep Lando went, he didn't get the best exit, even with DRS, and Max was late on the brakes and dived down the inside. He did leave Lando room. But Lando wasn't able to get on throttle early enough, and that's why Oscar Piastri, who had the best racing line, was able to swoop around the outside of his teammate. But maybe a bit of poor defense there from Lando. He left the door open down the inside for Max Verstappen, and that's why Max was able to make that move. To be honest, yeah, I think Lando should have covered that off a lot better. Not the best racing brain there for Lando Norris, to be honest. As Max Verstappen is reporting on clipping way too much of his battery, that means it's peaking and will not be implementing that proper charge that it should be. So here we go, Oscar Piastri here, half a second back from Max Verstappen, not close enough yet again to have a move down into turn 4, but Lando is dropping back a little bit as George Russell's got ahead of Carlos Sainz, back into P4 for George Russell. Very close between George, Sainz and Hamilton there, as they're now 2 seconds back from the front 3 as they're tussling it out for the top 4 positions. The 4th position, just off the podium, as Charles Leclerc is looking to get onto the back of Lewis Hamilton and make it a Mercedes and McLaren fight here for 4th place, as Hamilton will be looking at Sainz. But that is the nature of this circuit, guys, as Lando Norris has lost DRS to his teammate, and Oscar Piastri just lost a little bit to Verstappen out in that last sector as well, but the DRS will drag him back into that DRS and under that second range, which is important for the McLaren and important for the remainder of this sprint race if there is to be a fight for P1. As Oscar, maybe the McLaren's tyres just falling off a bit here, as of course they are pushing in the dirty air. Max Verstappen, while he's punching the air, punching a hole in the air for those drivers behind, it does mean that it's kind of on his tyres than that of those behind. So Oscar Piastri 6 tenths back as they head down into turn 4. He gains a couple of tenths under braking with the DRS down into turn 4, but it's not enough. He needs to be about 3 tenths back, as we saw, to have an opportunity into turn 4, or be about half a second back to have a move down into or up into turn 3. But George Russell still ahead of Carlos Sainz, is all over the back of him. Just watching this move back on Carlos Sainz and George Russell, he did the cut back on Carlos Sainz. He lined up Carlos Sainz, apologies, down on the run into turn 3. And just easily breezed past him with DRS into turn 4. So a good overtake there, but it's very, very close. Less than a second separating Russell, Sainz and Hamilton at the moment. Charles Leclerc I was about to say just off the DRS, but he's regained it. But Oscar Piastri, Norris starting to fall back here. So Norris really suffering with his tyres, it seems, as he's 1.6 seconds back from his teammate. And unless there's a mistake from Verstappen up front or his teammate, doesn't look like he's going to be able to gain or be fighting for the top step at all. But Oscar doing well to stay with Max Verstappen. But the longer he stays there, of course, the longer his tyres are going to be hurting. Can he hold out for much longer? I'm not sure. Definitely in Max Verstappen's control, you would say, at the moment. Russell, Sainz and Hamilton, as they were down into turn 4. Charles Leclerc in 7th, Perez 8th, Magnussen in 9th, Stroll 10th. Not much movement behind down the back of the field, but it does look like Daniel Ricciardo might have a move on Logan Sargent down into turn 4. Is he going to be able to have a move on the Williams? No, very close to RB. Even with DRS, doesn't look like he can get past the Williams, who also had it likewise ahead of him. We have Alonso in P14 down a position. Not a good race for him as he's stuck behind Yuki Tsunoda and being pressured by Nico Hülkenberg. But we can see there now that at the top of the timing sheets that Verstappen has got out of the DRS range of Oscar Piastri. Importantly, 1.2 seconds it is now between Verstappen and Piastri. 1.6 seconds back from Norris to his teammate Piastri in P2. There's 2.5 seconds between Norris and Russell in P4. So at the moment, you would think it is, with 13 laps remaining, most likely going to be as it is between Verstappen, Piastri and Norris in that top 3. But the 4th position, the places behind, it is still up for grabs. Hamilton still on the rear wing of Sainz as they head down into turn 4. George Russell punching a hole in the air for those behind him. Or for Sainz, Hamilton and Leclerc, as Zhou Guanyu has been overtaken by by Alex Albon down into turn 3, but he might be able to come back at him with DRS down into turn 4. We'll see, of course, those two fighting for the last position in this sprint race, putting it all on the line. Of course, guys, don't do anything, don't do too much, otherwise you may potentially be out of qualifying this afternoon. But yeah, pretty much big gap between Magnussen and Perez now. 5 seconds between those. Field spread starting to get there really at the moment. As you can see, Piastri falling a little bit further back. A couple of attempts per lap now it is, as Max Verstappen does seem to have this race under control. What does punching a hole in the air mean? It means that they are like slipstream. So they are going ahead and there is a hole in the air that the car can slot in behind and go quicker because it has less resistance. So that's the idea of slipstream. But of course, if you're too far back, then you get dirty air. That air that's displaced doesn't hit your car as smoothly as it's designed, and that means that you lose downforce and the car becomes a lot more harder to control through the corners. So that's why they start to lose time. But we can see here now Verstappen pulling away from Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris. And we have seen that while it was a valiant effort by Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris to take the challenge to Max Verstappen, he's been able to maintain that lead. And with that clean air that he's had, just able to look after his tyres much better than Piastri and Norris's, who have fallen off. But we'll see if Norris is able to come back at his teammate. Maybe we'll have a fight for P2, because Norris has closed up the gap on his teammate last time around. Oscar Piastri had a 1:10 and Norris had a 1:96. So 4 tenths faster last time out from Piastri. From Norris on Piastri. Piastri, I think, might have killed his tyres quite considerably here. So we'll see if Norris is able to regain the DRS. But it seems to be as it was with the front, with Russell, Sainz and Hamilton as well, as Leclerc is just outside of DRS of Hamilton. They're around half a second separating Russell, Sainz and Hamilton, as Leclerc does just gain back DRS under braking on Lewis. The two Alpines are on the back of Lance Stroll now within DRS. But Kevin Magnussen, a good result for him if he finishes P9 here, out qualifying his teammates and finishing ahead of Hulkenberg, who is down in 15th as well. Time management phase now, except for the Alpines, yeah. Max has departed from the pack, yeah. I mean, this is obviously the nature of clean air that we're seeing here. Of course, Max, we know, is a great driver. We know that the Red Bull is still a good car. Just because McLaren have caught them doesn't mean that Red Bull are poor. They're still a great car. But what we've just seen is that if you can't make the move stick, you won't be able to... You're going to suffer in the dirty air. So, yeah. Right, Piastri has been caught by Lando Norris. Piastri falling off a bit. It was a better lap time for him last time out, but Lando does have DRS. So we're going to see an inter-team battle here between Piastri and Lando. How hard is Piastri going to defend this? Will he just let the position go to Lando? There is no threat from George Russell behind, as he is now 3 seconds back from Lando. But of course, I'm sure Piastri... Good start to this weekend from him, making up for a poor performance in Barcelona. Surely he will not want to give it up easy and want to get one over, importantly, over your teammates. So let's see how that pans out, guys. Sprint race is just shorter. 23 laps or 24 laps. It's a third of the distance, I think it is. Is it a third? Is that right, guys? It's a third of the full race distance. So, Max beating F1 car, he's gone break every record. I don't think he's not going to break every record, no, because other teams will catch up. I don't think Red Bull are going to have the long. I don't think they're going to have as longer period of dominance as what Mercedes had, which is why I don't think he'll break every record. If he moves to the next team that's the next dominant team, then yes, he can. But obviously that's about making the right decision. And at the moment, no one knows who's going to be the next dominant team in the next set of regulations, which are fast approaching, guys. They can change tyre if they want, Carol, but in a sprint race, you're just going to lose positions. So yeah, because everyone's on the mediums, that was the premise for them, and the idea is that they will make the full 24 laps. Ended up being 23 because of an aborted start, as Logan Sargent has lost the position to Daniel Ricciardo. Daniel Ricciardo, we have an on-track overtake in P16, has got past Logan Sargent, who is now down 2 positions into 17th. But let's have a look at the rest of the field at the front. So Max Verstappen is leading this sprint race over 2 seconds from Oscar Piastri now, and Lando Norris is in the DRS of his teammate, but he's not close enough to have a move down into turn 3, but he'll be looking to close that gap so that he can get nice traction out of turn 3 and have a run with another DRS zone down into turn 4. George Russell in P3, 3 seconds back from Lando Norris. Sainz in P5 in the DRS of Russell. Hamilton likewise just behind Sainz. Let's see, Lando Norris down into turn 4 on Oscar Piastri is closer than he's ever been, but sits back and isn't making any kind of moves or showing his nose on Oscar Piastri with 8 laps left remaining. Charles Leclerc has just fallen back off of Lewis Hamilton. He's 1.8 seconds back from him, but he has no worry about Sergio Perez behind, who is now 3 seconds in P8. And Kevin Magnussen, 6 seconds back from Sergio Perez in P9, is up 2 positions, good for him. Lance Stroll up 2 positions, likewise in P10. The 2 Alpines, the biggest losers in this sprint race thus far, both down 3 positions in 11th and 12th. Gasly, no doubt, will be looking to get one over on Esteban Ocon. Tsunoda in 13th, holding off Fernando Alonso, who's having a tough time here in P14. Nico Hulkenberg up 2 positions in 15th, and then we have Ricciardo in 16th, Sargent 17th, Bottas 18th, Albon, who started from the pit lane, in 19th, and Zhou Guanyu in 20th, who is nearly 4 seconds back from Alex Albon. It's been Real poor season for Zhou Guanyu, hasn't it? But Lando is a lot closer this time out to his teammate Piastri. Let's see if he decides to have a move on him now. He's gaining, but he still just sits comfortably behind his teammates. So Oscar Piastri still holds on to P2. Maybe there is... Maybe there's orders here for Piastri, but you would think Norris, of course, would want this position because while Max Verstappen is your championship leader at the moment and will be extending that lead with this sprint race win as it currently stands, Norris is P2 in the championship, so every point still matters. So you'd be thinking Lando would be wanting to overtake Piastri. Let's see if he does actually go for an overtaking attempt at some point. Oh, hi Alex, good to see you. Why is Perez car so slow against Max, or is Max just better? Max is just better. Don't get me wrong, there are other drivers on the grid who would get more out of that second Red Bull car than Perez. Which is why I think everyone's very surprised that Perez was re-signed for 2 years. Apparently it's a 1+1 year deal, so they have the option to assess his performance at the end of next year and remove him. I mean, they can probably remove him whenever they want, to be honest, and just pay out his contract. But ideally, they'd like to not do that because that's money, but they have to front up to get him out. But yeah, Perez is just not... He's arguably in the fastest car on the grid, especially Max Verstappen's hands it is. I mean, it is still probably the fastest car on the grid, just from the McLaren. And... look at what he's doing with it. So other drivers would most definitely get better results out of that car compared to Perez, that's for sure. So do you get an extra point for fastest lap in a sprint race? Good question, Ryan. I don't actually know. I'm not going to say yes or no to that because I don't know. So Lando still 6/10 back from Piastri, just not really able to force the issue on his teammate at the moment. Not sure if there's been any team orders. I haven't heard anything in regards to team orders. But Sainz has lost the toe from George Russell there last time out through the last sector. So it seems Hamilton is now going to have an opportunity to get a top 5 here in this sprint race as he will have DRS on Carlos Sainz for the remainder of this lap. Seems to have just lost a bit of traction out of turn 3, so he won't be close enough to have an opportunity at Sainz down into turn 4. But with 5 laps remaining, you would think that Hamilton will definitely be looking at overtaking Sainz here as he lost the DRS to George Russell. That is for sure. So, Max Verstappen P1 still from Oscar Piastri in P2. Lando Norris P3. George Russell in P4 has broken away from Carlos Sainz. 1.6 seconds the gap now to him. Sainz and Hamilton pretty much the closest in the front, in the top 10 here at the moment. Just 7 tenths separating them as we head into the 20th lap of this race. You can see that Hamilton with DRS open will be gaining. Let's stay on board with Hamilton and Sainz and see how much he closes up that gap down into turn 3. Let's see, so 7 tenths back, DRS, how much does he gain? You can instantly see there, wow, the interval time just dropping as it's a long run up the hill to turn 3, but then it's all about the traction down up to out of turn 3. If he can maintain this traction and not lose time, but he loses about 2 tenths under traction out of turn 3, and that is the deciding factor at the moment for why Lewis Hamilton is still behind Carlos Sainz. But maybe with 4 laps remaining, he might be able to get the move done. But we can see that further down the grid, Ocon and Gasly still stuck behind the Aston Martin of Lance Stroll. I'm surprised that they haven't been able to get past that Aston Martin. Maybe not as good in race trim, the Alpines, as they are in qualifying at the moment. But still, good improvements for them nonetheless. As Valtteri Bottas has lost a position to Alex Albon. And, well, I say that, they're going side by side as they head down into turn 4. Chopping and changing positions between Albon and Bottas. This is for 18th position, guys. And Alex Albon, who started from the pit lane, has got ahead of both of the Stake F1 cars and is now behind his teammate, Logan Sargent, just a couple of seconds up ahead the road ahead of him. Red Bull is going to introduce big changes in the next race. It'll be more difficult to beat Max, but I don't think so. Perez can change anything after that. No, Perez is still Perez, isn't it, in the day? So, why can't Alpines overtake Aston? Good question. Good question, guys. Good question. What's holding up Sainz's decision? Well, supposedly, Alpine have come in at the last minute and offered a very a very good deal for Carlos Sainz. So supposedly, Alpine have offered, who is a former team of Sainz, remember, formerly known as Renault. Sainz did leave. That was his first team after Toro Rosso, wasn't it, to go to Renault? And yeah, he has an offer there, as Fernando Alonso has just lost 2 positions out of turn 3 there from Nico Hülkenberg and Daniel Ricciardo. Someone definitely shoved it up the inside there and forced Alonso out of position. And Daniel Ricciardo said, thank you very much. I will take that position also. So this has been a horrible sprint race, a weekend thus far for Fernando Alonso. A poor qualifying from him. And now down in 16th position. So yes, Fernando Alonso being shown the outside. I think the outside. Let's just watch the TV replay to see exactly how that move was done. But Lewis Hamilton still not able to gain. Well, actually, Lewis Hamilton's a lot closer this time around to Carlos Sainz. But it's all about that traction out of turn 3. And he's lost so much time out of turn 3 there. He was 3 tenths back. And Lewis Hamilton just lost half a second out of the exit of turn 3 there. He just cannot get the traction in the latter stages of this sprint race. We have only 2 laps remaining. And it does seem like that this is going to be the finishing positions as it stands, unless Lando Norris makes one last charge at his teammate, but he's also not able to close up in the in effect what would be the end of the first stint in the race on Sunday. So it is a little bit of a preview. So I'm just watching this replay of Nico Hülkenberg on Fernando Alonso. He came from very, very far back, sent it on Fernando Alonso, and he locked up. Ooh, naughty, naughty. He locked up, and Fernando Alonso had nowhere to go, and he still did keep it within the track limits, and because of that, Fernando Alonso lost an extra position to Daniel Ricciardo. So, yes, you can see there, forcing another driver off the circuit. So I think Nico Hülkenberg will probably receive a penalty for that because he wasn't in control of the car. But here we go. Lando Norris is now close behind his teammate. It is the final lap of this race. One last opportunity for Lando Norris. Is he going to have a move? Is he going to be close enough to Oscar Piastri? No, he's not. He's not, and Lewis Hamilton lost the DRS to Carlos Sainz this time around also. And guys, I think that is going to be it for this race, for this sprint race, as Max Verstappen comes through the middle sector one last time. And he is 4.5 seconds ahead of Oscar Piastri. Lando Norris close behind him. The 2 McLarens much better than the rest of the field. But Max Verstappen round the last corner. He held off a charging Lando Norris. He regained that position with a great move down into turn 4 when Lando left the door open after gaining first place. And Max Verstappen from pole position is the Austrian GP sprint winner. Oscar Piastri finishing ahead of his teammate Lando Norris, who, after saying thank you very much, with Lando failing to defend down into turn 4 from Max Verstappen. George Russell in P4, Carlos Sainz in 5th, Lewis Hamilton in 6th, Charles Leclerc, a good recovery from him in P7. Perez lost the position to Charles Leclerc down in 8th. Magnussen, good result from him in 9th. Stroll holds off the 2 Alpines of Ocon and Gasly, who are down 3 positions, and we have Yuki Tsunoda in 13th. Nico Hülkenberg 14th, most likely going to receive a penalty for that though, because I'd be surprised if he doesn't receive a penalty for that. But we see Ricciardo in 15th, Alonso 16th, Sargent in 17th, Albon started from the pit lane up 2 positions in 18th, and the 2 Stake F1 cars not very good this weekend in 19th and 20th. And that is it, guys. That is it for this sprint race weekend, sprint race thus far. But the question is, guys, the question is, Lando Norris could have won this race, I think. I think he could have won this race. If you watch the replay of Lando Norris, he leaves the door open for Max Verstappen to send it down the inside into turn 4. And, well, Max, on the limit, left Lando just enough room, but that allowed, of course, Max Verstappen to hold on to that position or regain that position, and for Oscar Piastri to get ahead of Lando the next corner. And, well, it was a great move to take the lead, but he didn't do a very good job defending it into the next corner. So Lando still learning in his fights for the win and against Max Verstappen. So let's see what this race, what qualifying has in store for us. The order could change up once again. There's no guarantee Max will be on pole. There's no guarantee the McLarens will be up there. The Ferraris may improve. Of course, Charles Leclerc didn't set a lap in Q3 yesterday. And, of course, we have a much longer race on our hands on Sunday. So anything can happen. Anything can happen. Oscar attacked like a rookie and made them lose time. No, Oscar didn't. No, Oscar didn't attack like a rookie. Oscar took, like any good racing driver does, took an opportunity. He saw an opening. He took the opportunity. He was fortunate enough that he was just far enough back from Verstappen and Norris, took the racing line and made a great move around the outside into turn 6. And then look, both of them used up too much of their tyres trying to attack Max Verstappen. And being in the dirty air, what this has kind of done is that it's indicated that you need to be in clean air. Yes, Max is good, but you need to be in clean air because there's a certain limited time that these drivers can go on the attack. Of course, that's a sprint race, though. The sprint race is for attack. So the race on Sunday will be very different. Obviously, strategy, looking after tyres and so forth. I think we're in for a good race this weekend. I think we are. I think we're in for a good weekend. And yes, and Lando didn't get a good start, so he didn't even have a sniff of an opportunity down into turn 3. So Lando will be looking to improve that start, of course, on Sunday, no matter which position he starts from. Sprint race is different from normal GP. Yeah, the actual race is tomorrow. Yeet. So sprint races, there's about 6. Is there 8 of them this year? Is there 6 of them? And yeah, it's a fraction of the full race distance. And the whole idea is that it's more exciting. The drivers are going 100%. They're not tyre saving. But yeah, I think that was an interesting one. That's one of the best sprint races we had. At least Lando gave it a go. At least Piastri gave it a go. But by the time Piastri caught Verstappen or got past Lando, he'd used, obviously, a lot of tyres as well. So, but B-Cobb screwed Daniel with the car. I think Daniel's screwed himself, to be honest with you. I don't think he's been performing. Yuki's been able to get a decent performance out of the car, hasn't he? So, when it's been good. But yes, that is the sprint race, guys. We will be live this afternoon, of course, for qualifying. The order could completely change. But I think it's still going to be those front 3 again, fighting for pole position. Maybe the Mercedes might be able to throw a spanner in the works. Lewis Hamilton, of course, ballsed up qualifying yesterday as well. So he's got lots of improvements to make. Charles Leclerc, of course, we know how quick he is over a single lap. And hopefully Ferrari gets Leclerc to set a Q3 time this time out, eh? Yuki has newer parts, though. It's not really making an effect, though, is it? It's not really making an effect. And you also have to remember, why has Yuki got the newer parts? Because he's been performing much better than Ricciardo. So you put the newer parts on the better performing driver. Toto wonders who gave the wrong engine, McLaren. But yeah, not long till quali. Not long till quali. Frick, I'll be live probably 15 minutes before quali. So that will be in about 3 hours time, basically. 3 hours time from now. There are points to sprint races. I think it's the top 8. So I think Magnussen's just finished outside of the points finishes. So there have been discussions about increasing the points for like points finishes in sprints, because what's the point of like the bottom half racing, you know? So maybe they could replace Perez on the race on Sunday, yeah. But that was an intriguing race. Norris, yeah, if you go and have a look at the highlights, they'll be available online pretty quickly now on YouTube. Just have a look. It was a great move from Lando to take the initial lead into turn 3. He also had DRS down into turn 4. He should have easily held on to that position. He should have shown Max Verstappen the outside at turn 4. And control the line into that corner. He didn't. And Max just made the move stick. And then he actually lost another position because of it. So, yeah, Lando should have held on to that position. And would he have then held off Max Verstappen? I don't know. But the fight would have gone on for a bit longer. He would have had more of an opportunity to win that race. And the race, Max would have had to have overtaken Norris next time out at turn 3 and turn 4. So, yeah. So we'll see. Do I reckon Hamilton might regret moving to Ferrari? No, I don't think he will. No, not at all. Thanks, NK. Thank you, buddy. Yeah, I'm glad everyone likes the commentary and likes the streams. And big thank you. I've just noticed 26,000 subscribers we've got now. 26,026. So a big thank you to everyone who's subscribed this stream and subscribed in general. So yeah, it's a great achievement. We're on the way up, guys. We're on the way up. And if you could hit that like button, if you haven't hit the subscribe button already, please do. We'll be back this afternoon for qualifying and for the race as well tomorrow. So yeah, I'm intrigued. Let's have a look at the grid then. So Leclerc did well to recover, but the big take, the Hamilton did okay, couldn't pressure Sainz at the end. George Russell held position, he regained a position from Sainz. I mean, the big factor here is that obviously they're pushing a lot. The dirty air is quite prevalent. As we said earlier, there's a limited amount of time these drivers can go on the attack, and then they're going to have to drop back into some clean air and manage their tyres. So strategy is going to be key on Sunday. Hopefully it's not a one-stop. I hope it's not a one-stop, but we'll see. But yeah, we'll see what happens, because if you're that car pushing behind, it's difficult out of the traction zones of turn 3 and turn 4 have that grip, to have and turn 1 to have an opportunity, even with DRS, to have a go. So thanks, Graham. Thanks, Anthony. Yeah, we try. We do our own thing here. I know there's other channels that do it their way as well when they do something similar, but we're unique. I'm unique. In a good way. My missus would disagree. I'm unique in a completely different way to her. Perez does not belong in front-running car. Evidence mounts racing race out. Yeah, Scott. Yeah. I still think no matter what, he'll be given that opportunity for next year. 2026 will be different. 2026 for Sergio Perez will be very different. They need to make an assessment, really, don't they? I still think a lot of it is... I don't think he's there for racing reasons. No way whatsoever. I think he's just there for the money, and I think he's there to keep Max happy. For them they've got someone who Max can easily beat. They keep the status quo. That's the thing. They've kept the status quo. They're not bringing in some young hot shot who wants to prove himself and wants to win races and stuff. And they want to keep Max where he is. The rumours... Mercedes are openly courting Max Verstappen. Their CEO came out and said, we'd love Max Verstappen. So they're openly courting him. And there's definitely been meetings. With Max's team. Maybe not Max himself, but Max's team and Mercedes. And yeah, the engine obviously will be a big factor in that. So... Thanks, Ty. Yeah, we'll see you this afternoon. Agreed. Are they truly attempting to throw the constructors for CFD and wind tunnel? I don't... Maybe. But I still don't... I mean, yeah, maybe. I just don't think Red Bull care about the constructors. I think their sole focus is the drivers. However, the team members will be focused on the constructors and will want a decent second driver. I don't think many of the team will be too impressed at Red Bull that Perez has been re-signed, because I know someone from Red Bull and he said they obviously he said not to go back and dwell too much on 2021, but he worked at Red Bull at that time, and he said, look, I know that was wrong. He goes, that was dodgy as fuck. However, at the time we knew it was dodgy as fuck, but we still massively celebrated, because also every team, their bonuses are tied into where they finish in the constructors. So he goes, we all got a very nice bonus for win the constructors. So the team members, the 1,000 people, the 2,000 people that are back at the factory, they want a decent second driver. Because that means the higher up you finish in the constructors, the better the bonus you're going to get. And of course, everyone working in F1, not everyone's earning, obviously, the salaries that the team principals are earning, the chief designer, the drivers. They're earning good wages, but not everyone's earning like really, really good wages, and that bonus makes a difference to people's lives. So, good morning. 3:42 a.m. Wow, Roger. Wow, commitment. You're committed. Welcome, buddy. Good to see you. Lewis needs to improve his qualifying. 100% he does. Yeah, his qualifying has been very lackluster in the Mercedes. He made a mistake yesterday in turn 3. He'll be looking to improve on that this afternoon. But yeah, I just think, look, I don't have any... I still hold a bit of hope of good performances from Lewis in this Mercedes this year. But part of me is like, we're not going to see the best of Lewis until he goes to Ferrari, because it'll be a change in mentality. He's already too downbeat being at Mercedes. Look, whether there's some shenanigans happening behind the scenes, I don't know. But you start thinking that. You start looking for excuses, and if you're not performing and you're not, your head's not quite there either. And George Russell obviously is on the up. He's got a completely different outlook at Mercedes. He's much more positive outlook because he's going to be the #1 driver next year, and he wants to push the team forward. And he's come from Williams into Mercedes, whereas Lewis is coming from massive highs with Mercedes for the last 10 years to like a massive low. So there's a completely different outlook on that team and how they drive, and that definitely affects anyone who says that doesn't affect you. Definitely does. Anyone who's played any sort of level of sport knows that mentality and confidence is a massive factor. And if you don't have that, and it doesn't matter what's come before, yeah, it's difficult to kind of translate that on the into performance on when it matters. So Perez's sponsors paying Max's salary. Yeah, it's pretty hefty, isn't it? It's pretty hefty. But Constructors is definitely more financially lucrative, Gooner, yes, and that's what we said. The Constructors matters to the team as a whole. However, like, there's more. So financially, the Constructors is more lucrative. I don't know how much there is to the team for winning the Drivers' Championship. I don't know if there's anything, actually. But of course, if you've got the Drivers' Champion, that... back in 2021, he didn't... So he said, we all celebrated... They didn't win the Constructors that year, did they, Red Bull? They lost the Constructors to Mercedes. But my point still stands. He said they celebrated because there was a big bonus for everyone if they won the Drivers' Championship, because they'd obviously not won the Drivers' Championship for years, and last time with Vettel. But he still said the same thing. He goes like, there is bonuses for where you finish in the Constructors as well. So the teams do want... I can't imagine they'll set their structure out each year, bonus structure for like if you win the Drivers' Championship. But maybe Red Bull are like that. Maybe Red Bull have got, we put more value on the Drivers' Championship. So if we win that, there's a better bonus for everyone in the team. So yeah, every team's different, and I think that's right. Like, teams put more value. Well, most teams put more value on having the Drivers' Champion than having the Constructors' Championship. So solid 4 out of 10. I would say it was better. I would give it 6. I'd probably give it a 6. It was okay. Yeah, at least we had a fight we had a tussle for the lead. So yeah, it was just a shame that it only lasted 2 corners, really. If Lando held on to that position into turn 4, which he should have done, I think that would have gone on for a few more laps. And it would have been interesting to see if Verstappen's car, his tyres started to fall off, rather than the McLaren's. So, because Max, barring one corner, one straight from turn 3 to turn 4, was never in dirty air. So he could control his tyres the way that he wanted to. He didn't have that dirty air behind, so... 8 for the first half, 6 after that. Yeah, it would have been spicy if Piastri got through past both Norris. Yeah, definitely. I think it still would have been spicy if Max was wedged in between Piastri and Norris. That would have been interesting. Yeah, that would have been interesting as well. So, but anywho, guys, that is it for this sprint race. I am going to go have some lunch, rest up, recuperate, and we will be back in 3 hours' time for the qualifying, which happens. I think we're going to see a change up of the order. I don't think it's going to be as it was. It's very tight up the top. Remember, drivers and teams can change the setup of their car now for qualifying. No longer are they stuck with the same setup from that practice session or from qualifying yesterday. So drivers and teams are going to have learned from this sprint race and what they learned yesterday in qualifying. They'll make adjustments, and no doubt we will see improvements from certain teams. We're definitely going to see an improvement from Charles Leclerc. That's for sure. But yeah, just watching the replay of Max Verstappen and Max Verstappen's move on Lando. Lando should have covered that off, man. I'm surprised he left that door open. Not enough, not enough. But yes, thank you for everyone who subscribed as well. Please hit that subscribe button on your way out. Please hit the like button. Turn those notifications on. You can find my stream for qualifying. You can find the waiting room on my channel. So set that up in a browser tab. Put your notifications on. You'll get alerted 30 minutes before we go live. You can have a little chat in there. I'll run another poll of who we think is going to be on pole position from what we've seen thus far. No doubt, I've got a sneaky feeling of who I think is going to come out on top of that poll. Yeah, and we will see you in 3 hours' time. Be there, guys. Be there. We'll see you then. Bye.